Hey guys, Gameboy3800 here. Once again, we're back in Beam, and today we're going to be taking a look at all of the newest features coming in version 8.5 of my add-on packs for BeamNG. Going to do a quick walk around of all the trucks here. All these trucks have brand new engines, except for the first two, Black Magic and, what is that, V8 Bomber Skinner Edition, have engines we've seen, but they have all been updated. So, as we get to them, we will take a look at all of their new features. But first things first, I'm going to go ahead and run on over to Black Magic, because that has some new features that I'll let you guys discover. It's quite cool, actually. I am running the manual with clutch gearbox, so clutch in, rev it up, here we go. I have clutch bound to my left stick click. It's actually gotten used to it over time. If you ever feel the rev getting low, just bump the clutch. And away you go. I love it. Now, of course, if you have Gearbox Safety Assistant turned on, you can just shift, through all the gears as normal, but you will use more clutch wear that way. And of course, if we explode the clutch, we can no longer drive. So we have a damageable gearbox. This has already been out. This is the main feature of the League chassis and the League engines. They're all balanced and can be damaged. But have you seen the new feature yet? I know I have. I'll zoom in on it this time. Here we go. Will I clear that thing? Yes, I will. Nice. So, yep. We have glowing brake discs, and with a push of a button, they can throw sparks. Now, for now, Blackmagic 12K, that this is being used as a test bed for this feature. In the end, I would like to have it be its own axle option, so that it can be universal. You can put it onto any truck, not just Blackmagic 12K. Yeah, with a press of the brakes, they glow bright red. And with a hit of the effect button, you can get them to throw sparks. And if you time them properly, you can get quite the legit looking, mid-air brake check with the spark thrown. Or if you bind it to an easier button to press, I don't know. I would love to just be able to bind it to the brake button so that whenever you're full on the brakes, you throw sparks, but I don't think that's possible. So you gotta do something like this where you hit the brakes, after a second, hit the spark button, and then you're stopped. I'm sure it looks really good in replays. In fact, I did try it once for like a quick teaser video in the Beam Monster server, and that turned out quite well, so Yep, glowing brakes, sparking brakes will eventually be made a feature to be more universal, or if not, at the very least, it'll always be a part of this truck. Blackmagic 12K. Can shut you down over here. and take a look at the next truck here. This truck is just a refresher for an existing feature. In the specialized add-ons pack, we have a lot of cool plane themes going on. Mostly with the engines, we have the V12 Rolls-Royce Merlin engine right here, with its neat-looking pipe stacks. Comes in both a supercharged and naturally aspirated version. We're running the supercharged version here. But yeah, this engine's been out for a little while, actually, even longer if you've been a member of my server, where winners of the last community event were able to get it a few months early. But now it's public to everybody. This is a massive engine, 27 liters in fact of displacement. It's got 1,600 horsepower from standard and 3,100 foot-pounds of torque. I don't even want to know what that is in Newton meters, like 4,500 Newton meters. But yeah, it's a insane engine, but trust me, this is like the base level of insane we're going to be getting this episode. Of course, the custom sounds, awesome. Took a while to get these to sound right. People say it sounds silly, but like, if you've ever watched any old, like, World War II airplane footage, aside from the propeller noise, the engine sounded just like this. You can get up to some really high speeds, really fast. That is quite the oof, and I don't really want that debris on the field, so I will just go ahead T-pose on top of Black Magic to assert dominance. That's pretty good right there. Next up is the War Machine truck. This has a brand new engine. It's the most American engine you could find. It is the Allison V12 V1710. So it's a 28 liter. It's 1 liter up from the Rolls-Royce Merlin. So it's a... You think it would have a bit more power, but the supercharger is actually weaker. It's a one-stage supercharger instead of a two-stage. So what that means is it can't build the boost as quickly. But it's still a mighty fine engine. And you might look at it and say, is that a V24? Because it's got 12 headers on each side. The answer to that is no. It's a V12. It just uses quad valves, so 2 intake, 2 exhaust. And instead of going for one really wide header like on the Merlin, it's split up into 2 per cylinder. It's a bit of an ouch right there. Owie. Yeah, it's in the engine. I guess we'll get going. I love the intake manifold on that, by the way. It just looks so cool. Next up is another V8 bomber variant. This one has quite the engine in the back of it. It looks familiar. In fact, if we go over to the 6x6, that has existed before. Take a look at this engine, and then take a look at this engine, and you'll be like, hey, wait a minute. They look the same. And that's because they are very similar in the model, but this one's obviously smaller, and the supercharger is also smaller. Why is that? Because while the 6x6 has the DB603, this has the smaller DB605. Instead of 45 liters, this is 35 liters. So it's still a V12, inverted V12 actually, so it's upside down compared to what you're probably used to seeing. It's quite heavy. I would recommend tuning your rear suspension to be about maybe 15 to 20,000 units of pressure instead of like 10,000 or 8,000 that I like to run. You can see inside the cab though, we do have nitrous bottles, so if we enable Nitrous, we have 200 pounds of nitrous bottle to play with. It's pretty easy to do power wheelies. We got 2,000 horsepower with the NOS, 1,500 without the NOS, so it's pretty respectable. There's a lot of weight in the back, so you do need to watch out for that. Other than it now being able to fit inside of a 2-axle setup instead of the 3-axle setup that the 6x6 has, you do now get the ability to have a little bit more peppy, a little bit more revvy version of the 603. And this is a new chassis. It's more hollowed out than even the Merlin V12 chassis that we can see there. It's pretty simple. I just call it the Specialized Engine Mods Chassis V2. With 2,000 horsepower, 4,000 foot-pounds of torque, how can we send her off here? I see a way. That's a big jump right there. No damage. Very nice. The same could not be said for the launch of that one, and over we go. Don't want you to be there, so we already had Black Magic get T-posed on, so we will go ahead and T-pose over to here. Good job. Next up, Relentless, and we have a pretty similar looking engine in the back of this truck, but it does have some differences. Let's go ahead and give it a quick drive. This engine makes 1,900 horsepower, and it can do that without any nitrous. It has a 3-speed supercharger, so it's quite powerful. And it is actually smaller than the last engine we saw. The last engine was, what, 35, 36 liters? I think this is only a 34 liter. Only a 34 liter. Still massive. This is the Junkers Yumo 213. Now, you take a look at it in the parts menu, you'll be like, what? And if you don't know German, it's a bit confusing, but it's spelled as Junkers Jumo, but you pronounce it as Junkers Yumo. More like Junkers, but, you know. I know a little bit of German. And 2140 versus 2180 cubic inch, so it is like 1 liter down on the DB605. And take a look at it, it is also very supercharged. It's at the back, and it points to the right instead of pointing to the left. You can see the impeller going in the back whenever the engine is on. Got flame spit and exhaust out the headers there. Sure, if you don't know Junkers, it's basically another version of Mercedes back in the day. Daimler-Benz and Junkers, kind of the same way back in the day. In the end, only Daimler-Benz remained. And Daimler-Benz still remains as the parent company of Mercedes, as far as I know, at least according to Wikipedia. If Wikipedia is wrong, then, I don't know, I guess T-pose on it. This engine is a lot of fun, though. Pretty heavy, but, you know, of course it is. It's 30-odd liters. Also, I have to say, look at those engine mounts. They go right to the chassis. They really hold it in place. That was a neat move. We can have one more over here, right? There we go. And last up is the 6x6. We know what this is, so I'll give it a quick run. Now this has had some updates. I have fixed the steel plating of the CRD 3 chassis not existing. And of course, the DB603, the 45-liter engine. Right now it's got a rev happy tune on it. With this tune is called Old Reliable. This paint is by Redline. So thank you very much, Redline, for the paint. It looks awesome. And I've painted the engine to match the paint a little bit as well. On top of being the new home of one of the main trucks, the pack especially, if we go ahead to the parts menu, take a look, all the engines I just showed off in the other chassis are available to select inside a 6x6 as well as some special options. My favorite is this. Remember the dual engines from front engine and, you know, back in the day? Well, take a look. Two engines fit perfectly in the back of this. And the Allison engine was the one that fit the best. So now, this is probably the most American engine you will ever see. Or American truck, I should say. And a bit of a fun fact if you didn't know. The Allison V12 here was actually used in a monster truck once upon a time. Awesome Kong 2 had it in the back of his truck one time. He had it in a different setup though. He had it with, instead of one carburetor and a supercharger, he had it with quad carburetors and a turbocharger setup. He made nearly 3,000 horsepower with one engine, and right here we're making 3,200 with two, because the supercharger in this is weaker than turbos, but it's still a lot of fun. Hella powerful. I have also fixed some like small part visibility things on the 6x6. So yeah, dual engines in the 6x6, more engines for the 6x6. Sparking brake rotors. Glowing brake rotors. And of course the existing Merlin V12 manual with clutch gearbox. All features of all time. There's one last thing I want to show off though, so I'm going to go to stabilizer. It can just be regular Lucas stabilizer, that's fine. Ow. Stock sounds are awful, so I'm going to fix that. If we go to the engine and go to the headers, we have a new option. We have stabilizer real stacks. And if we go to the body and remove the stacks for the body and have the stacks for the engine on, what happens? Well, let's take a look. That's right. The stacks now actually work. So many people requested this. I thought it would be really cool to have it if they had it in real life. But they didn't. So now I have remedied the issue. And now the stacks you see on the truck will work for real. The bottom is modified shoebox headers. And the top is a stretched tall lengthened version, whatever you want to call it, of the regular stacks. Combine the two, and now we have fully functional exhaust. You might be wondering, what happens if we land on them? Well, they're part of the engine, so if you saw there, they do actually move whenever the engine shakes or revs. Maybe they did a little bit on the regular body as well, but here, now they just go with the engine because they're attached to it. And if you roll over hard enough, maybe you'll break them, or like break the engine, but like, no, that's pretty rigid metal, so it shouldn't move too much. We can like lean on them, they don't die just like that easily. So I guess it's something you need to watch out for if you're rolling over. And I haven't really tested this, but what happens if we put a different body on, you know, without the stabilizer paint? Because right now the textures were being taken from the stabilizer paint. Oh, nice. Hopefully this is fixed by now. But, yeah, this body's out now, it's public. Hopefully it's fixed. I forget if I'm running a beta version or not, but here we go. We can have a Barbie Jeep with pipe stacks. And yeah, the pipe stacks from here are white. They may be no texture, no material for you. But, oh well. I'll fix that for at least, hopefully. I don't know how though. Maybe I'll connect textures to the headers. But then it could look weird. I don't know. Who cares? Looks pretty cool though. Also, these tires look cool. Like the Warren BKTs. But yep, that's about it. When will this update be out? I want to get it out at the end of the month. Yep. You don't have to wait too long for this one. It's not going to take 8 months like last time. I do apologize for that, but I was in the middle of a move that took up 3 months, so, you know. That's about going to do it. I'll see everybody in the future. Boing. Rip. What the heck was that? There goes the hood. It's flying. One last look at the carnage. Goodbye, everybody.